Day 680. Have I got a new channel icon and colour scheme? Yes. Have I completely rebuilt all my game assets to match? No. Is there an utterly horrendous and abhorrent mismatch between the two art styles now? Definitely. Will I fix it? Hell yeah, but not today. Still, even with the art direction being a bit of a mess, we've made a bunch of great changes since the last devlog. I set myself one big goal last time, rebuild the unit bar so we can actually move units around and recruit them. Pretty basic, but important stuff. As you can see from the video, that's been done, and we can now list and move a bunch of units around on the map. It's only taken 600 plus days of building Bladewarden, but we are now finally able to recruit units using the new menu. Although I'm not 100% sure of exactly which units we'll have in the end, I've added 6 for now. Light infantry, heavy infantry, archers, pikemen, light cavalry and heavy cavalry. That's the traditional rock paper scissors setup. Units are made up of these individual soldiers, which is what the health bar represents, and units can also have different experience ranks. When selecting a unit, you also need to select a unit size, which directly affects both the production and upkeep costs for the player's faction. Down the road, it would be good to limit the resources to only a hex that has a barracks construction, but for now this'll do. Speaking of constructions, that was the other big coding thing I managed to do in the last 2 months. I've completely rebuilt the constructions and upgrades panel. Instead of there just being one panel that tried to show all the information, and failing miserably, this has now been split into 2 distinct areas. In the construction section, we've kept the image icons I accidentally found were a good idea last time, as well as added the new upkeep stats here so a player has some idea of what units are costing them the most resources. The upgrade section is the one I've improved the most though. I've added some nice new icons here to make things easier to understand at a glance, and separated out the upgrade build list into a separate menu. But most important here is the new core upgrades. This section solved a bunch of problems I had. 1. A player can now see at a glance whether a hex has a river or road, even when a construction is covering up the sprite for it on the world map. 2. A player can now actually build and destroy roads, even when no constructions have been added on the hex. And 3. Separating the 2 sections makes it obvious whether a player or enemy have invested in the hex. I'm pretty happy with this, and it's great we're able to finally build roads, as they were one of the earliest features I added, but we just had no way until now for the player to do this themselves. Other various changes I've made include making resources update once per in-game day, not once per hour, added a way for upgrades to be destroyed, created a basic Windows management system so they close properly when opening an unrelated window, and a whole bunch of code refactoring. Of the major components in the strategy game, now that we can move units and recruit them, as well as build buildings, the only big things left are the combat system and the enemy AI. Yes, we're continuing to ignore the save system, but hey ho. I hinted in a previous devlog I was planning to move away from having multiple enemy nations, and this is because the game is just taking so darn long. Instead, I'm now going for a more survival angle. I don't want to call them zombies, but basically zombies. How many days can your little nation survive against an overwhelming enemy that gets stronger with every passing hour? How long can you fend them off with limited resources using the terrain and technological improvements to your advantage? Having only one AI with one easy goal to destroy your capital is going to be a lot simpler to deliver as a solo dev than multiple nations with a bunch of different competing concerns. This way, the random event system is also no longer going to be unbalanced. The player will need every advantage they can get, and nobody should feel bad about cheesing the system in any way possible. The new Fox logo for the channel is semi-related to this change. Bladewarden is getting to the stage it needs more of a theme, more of a vibe, more of a unique look than what the store assets I've been using currently provide. So step 1, replace the terrible 160 by 160 pixel channel logo with a new one I've made. I wanted to keep the old orange colour scheme, but finding something that said smart and bastard was quite hard. But I think a Sly Fox fits the bill rather nicely. It turns out though, I can still only use a graphics tablet like a colourblind chimpanzee can. Everything I make just looks shit. But I realised that even someone as artistically brain-dead as myself can still use the line tool, so I tried again in paint.net and got what you see in front of you. Now all that's left is for me to redesign the Bladewarden logo, and then the several hundred other assets in the game, but that's future me's problem. Speaking of, for the next devlog I aim to either have done a big chunk of this artwork, or to have implemented the basic combat and enemy system. We're nearly at the 2nd year anniversary of the project, so it really would be good to get these last major things done. It's getting kind of embarrassing that I still don't have Bladewarden at the prototype stage after all this time. Remember guys, don't choose to build your own game engine unless you enjoy pain and suffering. But thanks again for your continued support, and until next time, bye!